We've got a special guest, Dustin from Dustin is Driving on YouTube. Thanks for joining, Dustin. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing all right. How you doing, man? Thanks for having me on.
I'm doing well. We're getting a lot of questions right now from Uber and Lyft drivers, so I'm excited to chat with you, hear your viewpoint, hear what your viewers and listeners and emailers and readers are all telling you. And obviously, you've been following all this stuff closely. I like the hat you got going on there. You sell those, or what's the deal?
I wish I could take credit for it, but no, I have the Amazon links down below, as always. You know what I'm saying? But
Sa-
yeah, they're pretty cool.
Sounds good. Cool. So right now we're streaming live to YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So if you guys are watching on any of those platforms, welcome. Hopefully it's coming in loud and clear. I think I've got this new software all dialed in now. We've got our first guest with the new software, and if everyone should be coming in pretty loud and clear. Looks like it's good on my end, Dustin. You can hear me okay?
Oh yeah, it looks great over here as well. Anybody in the chat? Can you guys hear us well? Make sure you give the video a thumbs up. Say something. Say what's up.
Yeah, it looks like we've got about 35 people watching live already on YouTube, and that number's increasing pretty quickly. And looks like we've
Let
got
me
real
share it on
rideshare.
Facebook as well.
All right, got real rideshare stories. Go Donnie, a bunch of people in there. Dennis from Long Beach, Mustafa from Atlanta. So welcome everyone. And Dustin, why don't I start off by giving you the first question? Well, what's the number one thing that you've been hearing from your viewers? What are they asking you about right now?
The number one thing is, when can I file for unemployment? That is the number one question. Everyone wants to know when they can file. If everything's working yet, can they also get sick pay still? Can they get unemployment benefits while they're still working?
Mm-hmm.
And the question, or the answer I should say to that question, is soon and yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I keep encouraging everybody to go to the one website, onestop.org. That was a good website for everyone to be able to find their exact state, so that way they can follow those procedures, because each state is individual and does everything,
Mm-hmm.
different than each other state. But I keep telling everybody to go to that website because it is definitely refreshing. They're trying to stay up to date, but of course, everything's like, it's a new thing for gig workers and everybody to suddenly be able to claim benefits out of thin air. So all their systems have to update and everything, which, we can all understand that. They give the links for people to file online and on the phone. But obviously the phone is going to take probably a hot minute.
Yeah.
And each link, they said the links will go there. They'll fill it out. Some of them will go through and some of them will say they can't go through. All I can say is keep looking at those links. That information on when your state is ready will come up through
Yeah.
there. Okay. So we can't tell you when it's going to happen. So you have to check on it each and every day.
Yeah, I guess one of the positives, I guess, depending on how you're looking at it, sort of a negative and a positive, but I haven't heard of any drivers actually starting to receive unemployment checks or sort of additional payments or anything like that. So it's not like anyone's missing out on payments right now. So you're not missing out on anything, but definitely the sooner the better. And I think the issue is that it's sort of a state by state issue, right? If you're going out and filing for unemployment. Have you filed for unemployment yet, Dustin?
Oh, no, I won't be filing for this. I figure it's with everything going on out there. I mean, I'm already good, so I'm not going to file for anything. And I know a lot of other people need the money a whole lot more. So I don't want to,
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with the headache and everything too, because people think it's just free money. You got to pay taxes on this at the end of the year, guys. This is still income that the government's giving you. So I don't want the headache of having to deal with this later on at tax time. I'm good for now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Are you filing for it?
Not the unemployment part, since I'm still, running my business, running my blog, but there's definitely the PPP loan, since I have people, that are on my payroll that I'm paying, and also this EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan grant. So definitely looking at all the options out there and sort of just,
That's
seeing.
right, because you have your own company. So yeah, I would
Yeah.
definitely be applying for that too, because that's technically, a hardship.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're not being able to do your normal thing to make your normal funds. And that's what we also tell people too.
Yeah.
If you're trying to get partial unemployment, you can still work and collect unemployment if you're making a substantial lower than normally that you would bring in.
Yeah.
So you can get partial, but you have to claim everything that you are making. Please, guys, don't try to double dip and think you're going to trick the system, because in the end, you're just going to screw yourself.
Yeah, so I am sharing the first comment we got from John over on the Facebook page. He's saying that he filed for unemployment insurance or unemployment and got a deposit. So that's interesting. I haven't seen or heard that from
Yes, I
any
have
drivers
actually
yet.
heard a couple people
Okay.
have got approved and they have gotten unemployment. Most of them were from the W-2.
Hmm.
Anybody that's doing a 1099 only, I haven't exactly been able to verify like the new gig thing because as far as I know, no states are actually approved that yet.
Yeah.
If they've gotten any unemployment at all, they sure have not gotten the extra 600 yet
Yeah.
or anything like
And
that.
real
That I
quick,
know.
what's the website you like, Dustin? I'm going to share that
Uh,
in the chat.
Let me find it for a second. CareerOneStop.org.
CareerOneStop.org. Let me
Yep.
pull that up and I'll share that right now for everyone in the live chat so you guys can check that out. And yeah, if you guys are watching live right now on YouTube or any other platform, feel free to go ahead and ask any questions that you might have here, and we'll do our best to answer them. And then, of course, if you're watching after the fact, you can always sort of follow along the live chat and see what was going on, but you won't be able to interact. And you can leave a comment, though, after these videos have been published and ask anything, and I'll do my best to get back to you. So, definitely, I think we should go ahead and start answering some questions. Looks like we've got Dave, the Uber slave, is in here. How's it going, Dave? Another YouTube channel. I guess I should also give you a proper intro, Dustin.
Yeah, what's
You
up, Dave?
you run your own YouTube channel called Dustin is Driving, and so if anyone right now is interested in checking out your channel, I'll leave a link to that in the show notes. What's the gist of your channel, just so people can know if they haven't heard of you yet?
Mine's a little like yours, except you know, you guys do a whole lot more research and everything in depth than I do. Mine is you know, the normal tips, tricks. I got tons of dash cam footage. I do have the #1 channel for dash cam footage. If you need to see crazy videos or footage, I most likely have it.
All right.
But other than that, and we just skits, we have some fun. We just try to keep it real and, you know, just a normal driver like everybody else. Ain't nobody special. Just, you know, somebody else out there.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. So, yeah, I appreciate you joining too. So, Robert or R Smart from California, he says that he got his unemployment deposit. He had a full-time job, so no 600 additional yet. So it does sound like, you know, some people who had other jobs other than Uber and Lyft are starting to get some payments basically, but you know, for everyone else, seems like definitely something that they can do now. So I've got a question right here from Dennis that I'm going to pull up onto the screen, and Dustin, I'll let you take a quick first crack at it. What do you think? What's the future for Uber? Dennis from YouTube wants to know.
What's the future for Uber? Well, if things don't recover soon, I'm not sure there is much of a future unless they end up partnering up with Amazon, just as Lyft did.
Mm-hmm.
And in that case, I don't know. I think Uber and Lyft might just become a new thing of Amazon. Amazon people, you know what I'm saying? Amazon packages. I think Amazon's going to end up ruling the world.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I will say, you know, Uber, they obviously, you know, Uber and Lyft, I think that it might be a long time, you know, before we ever get back to the same levels of demand. But at the same time, you know, Uber does have Uber Eats. And so that's an option. You know, obviously they can kind of shift resources, shift drivers, customers, push them over to Uber Eats since everyone's sort of sheltering in place right now. But at the same time, you know, I have seen Uber, like in the past week or two, they launched a new grocery service that they're just testing out that's going to be very similar to Instacart. And, you know, so I actually think they've got some options. Whereas Lyft, you know, they've partnered with Amazon. I don't know if they're actually making any money off that partnership, though. They're basically, if you click the link in the email that Lyft sent out to drivers about their Amazon delivery partnership, it just went straight to Amazon's page, right? So I don't know if
I don't think Lyft is gaining. I think Amazon is pretty much piggybacking off of, you know,
yeah.
off of Lyft. But Lyft ain't making nothing. If anything, Amazon's saving them, keeping them afloat with the Amazon brand. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Well,
because just think about it too. I mean, with Lyft, you know, that's the people. If the people aren't going out, they ain't making money. Whether people are going out or staying home, Amazon is always in demand.
Yeah, that is true. I think Amazon is in big demand right now. So I see a few people chiming in over on LinkedIn. Linda, Mary, Ofer, welcome to all you guys over on LinkedIn. So Like I mentioned, we're streaming now to a few different platforms. So if you guys are watching this video, whatever platform you're on, if you're on YouTube, go ahead and give us a thumbs up if you're enjoying the content. And I think if you're on mobile, you actually have to X out. You have to close out the live chat really quickly, and then you can give a thumbs up. So we're up to 147 people watching live across all the different platforms. So that's cool. And let's see, what other...
Yeah, I shared it on my community tab as well.
All right.
Hopefully some people come over, you know what I'm saying? Because if I do another live tonight, it'll probably be another game stream.
Yeah, I heard you've been doing some game streams, so I think I'll go ahead and pose this question to everyone watching live right now. Like, what have you guys been up to in your downtime right now? Are you sort of maybe I know a lot of people are obviously driving less for Uber and Lyft, or not at all. Are you looking for other work opportunities? Are you doing delivery? Are you just sort of sitting there watching Netflix? Are you doing productive? No judgments here. I just want to know. I'm curious.
Have you seen the Tiger King?
And we will definitely talk about Tiger King, I think, on this live stream. That's a good question too. If anyone's watched Tiger King, I'm on episode 3, I think, or episode.
Oh, you haven't finished it yet?
2.5.
Oh,
2.5.
man.
I think I fell asleep last night, halfway through the third one.
Just look out for those tigers, man. Look out for those tigers.
And so, Dustin, I'm going to ask you, what have you been up to during this quarantine, during this downtime?
Oh, well, besides not trying to dismember my children, 'cause now that we've turned into full-time teachers. Well, other than that, when I finally get all the schoolwork done and figuring things out, getting everybody fed and whatnot, then I try to go relax. And the only place I can go, since I've been home now for over a month, I go in the garage, I do some gaming, figure out, different things for videos, respond to comments.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything else. And then, so I started doing more gaming now, and was like, you know what? I can talk to people at the same time, and might as well stream and have some fun. Because, hey, it helps too, because you can also, our channels, we get monetized. So we can also get paid for having a little bit of fun gaming. Just bringing a little something different. Just talking to people without talking about, the elephant in the room, when we're like, everyone's still wanting to know the questions that we don't have the answers to. We don't know when your state is going to be ready. That is the main question. And people are like, well, why don't you know? It's like, well, we're not special, okay? We don't have...
Yeah, and I think we've got a question...
in high places, I'm like, hey, did you hear from the governor? Like, he paged me. He paged me, and I texted you, and you said the president said this.
I think you read our viewers' minds. Dan wants to know any updates on unemployment insurance or any of the stimulus. So, unfortunately, Dan, no real updates, but I think just other than kind of apply now and then see what happens. I think this is a question I saw that the Truth Warrior asked, if your kids are driving you, if you nuts yet. And I think I've noticed, like, for those like people like me that only have one kid, it's not too bad, because you sort of have like, a good football analogy. You have like 2 defensive backs on like a star receiver. It's not that bad, right? It's like 2 versus 1. But when you start to have like 2 or 3 kids and they're in school and they're active, that's when things get
I got 4. Mine's like a punt return. Everyone's coming for me.
So Rob says he's restarting his eBay business. Let's see, what else are people working on? Go Donnie Khan says, I'm working on my plan B, eBay. And then Rob says nothing, trying to stay informed about stimulus and unemployment, going crazy. Sparky, not driving, working on my online business. Rideshare Confessions, welcome Rideshare Confessions. They say, doing Amazon Flex is not worth it in DC. I got a 4.5 hour block and took me 7 hours for $86. Only did it one time, never again, now that COVID is in the warehouse. What do you think about Amazon Flex as an opportunity for drivers right now, Dustin?
Again, I want to make sure before I tell people to do something else that I still say, if you can stay home or collect unemployment or whatever, please do. But for those that need to go out there and do those things, you got to do what you got to do. Amazon Flex, to me, is no different than any of the other services. You can give them a shot. It just might not be your forte. You might not like it. But right now, beggars can't be choosers. If you need money, you got to go out there and do it. Then Instacart, DoorDash, Grubhub, Amazon Flex, those are what are hiring. Those are the options that we can give you that are viable, that still give it, that you can still be your own boss type deal. But you're just it's going to be it's a different dynamic. You know what I'm saying? You're doing something different. And obviously there's a learning curve to everything. Nobody just jumped into starting driving and could make money really good. You know what I'm saying? No one did Instacart really well. There's a buddy system now. That's how people are making really good on Instacart. I see people making $2,000 a week. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
whoa, they're putting like 60, 70 hours on that, but they're a buddy system.
Hmm.
So I guess they're splitting the profits. I don't know if they're having their, their loved ones, sister, brother, friend, whatever. But there's things you can do to make things work for you. And that's just like, if you want to be an independent contractor, you got to adapt or you're going to fail. Okay. That's what they always say. What 90% of startups and everything, they fail within the first year because you don't know what you're doing. If you
Yeah.
don't plan for every contingency and everything else, that's what's going to happen. So I would say if people need work, these gigs are what they can do.
Yeah, I actually really like the way you put that, Dustin, because it's sort of like I think you and I both have sort of always taken the viewpoint like, I don't know, I'm not trying to tell people what they should or shouldn't do, right? Everyone's in a different situation, their own situation. You know, you can kind of describe your personal situation. Like I think for you and I, like we probably, there's no way in hell you or I would drive for Uber and Lyft right now. And even sounds like, some of these other services, but obviously at the same time, if people need money or if they, they sort of need to drive or if they need to go work, everyone's in a different situation. So I think that that's like a good first point. And then second, that there is a big learning curve. I mean, we literally, it's like one of the biggest reasons why your channel exists and why my whole business exists. It's the fact that when you start out with these services, you don't make as much as the people who have more experience, who know what they're doing, right? And a lot of people go out and try services, like not to put throw rideshare confessions under the bus, but if you try something out for one time and it didn't work, probably want to do it at least a few times, like kind of you actually want to learn the ropes. And because there's definitely a lot of tips and tricks. We did a study last year of drivers who had 0 to 500 trips, and they actually earned $5 per hour less on average than drivers who had like 2,000 trips or more. So it's pretty clear. And I think it also makes a lot of sense that if you sort of know what you're doing, then you can kind of hustle and, you're not going to make 3 times as much, but you can definitely make more.
Oh yeah, because you can't base everything off of one test, one variable. You know what I'm saying? You might have did those blocks or whatever at the wrong time of the day, the wrong day. You know what I'm saying? You picked the wrong everything, and you would never know if you based everything on one test. And like
Yeah.
you said, for your study on people making less, of course, you got to find your hot spots, the best times, the best places. You know what I mean? Like, there's just so
Yeah.
many different things right there. And yeah, you can't base everything off of one. You can't base everything off trying one time, failing, and giving up. Okay, that doesn't make you an independent contractor or an entrepreneur. Okay, a true entrepreneur and stuff, you're going to go out there, you're going to hustle, you're going to make sure you have multiple streams of revenue coming in, some passive income if possible, but you're always going to have backups and you're always going to keep trying, because the only other option is going back to a W-2 job, having somebody else be your boss. So you can either make it or fake it till you make it, or fail. That's it.
All right, Dustin, you need to answer this question. We got a very important question on the screen right now. Glenn wants to know, where does Dustin get his hats? Because, hold on, let me read this. It says Uber on or don't move. Like, share, subscribe. I like where this is going to the rideshare guy. All right, perfect. So answer the question, Dustin. Where do you get your hats?
Off of Amazon. I got them off Amazon. The very first one right here I bought, I found a Facebook ad, and I went to it. It was some Chinese thing or something. I don't know. But
You
they
have a
sent
link for it?
It was cool, and I found it. The link's in the description of my videos. I don't even know where that is, but it's in the description of all my videos.
All right.
And in the Amazon, it says my hat on the link in the description. But that's it.
Nice.
Everyone likes it. It's USB. It is pretty simple. So far, all you do is plug it into a USB, charge it into the wall. It's great.
Funny.
I know. So far, when I did my gaming, I streamed, I think, for 6 hours of gaming, and the hat was still on, still rolling. So 6 hours straight. I know it lasts a long time.
Nice. Well,
But it is nice to have fun with.
I like this comment here from Jonathan. He says Instacart has become strong money. He actually says he just did an interview with BBC Radio about it. That's pretty cool. And he's also working on his plan B, pitching TV pilots, one about rideshare, and catching up on Jay Crater's Rideshare Dojo, the podcast. So definitely, I know that, I don't know, I've found myself listening to a lot more podcasts, watching a lot more YouTube videos. I guess I'll just say from I know the traffic on my channel alone is up, I think, around 50 to 75% right now. now in the last 28 days. And so which kind of obviously basically just implies that, a lot of people are watching, more YouTube videos. So I'll leave a link right now to Jay's podcast if you guys want to listen to that. But I want to ask
Jay's
you.
got awesome content. He definitely, you could tell he researches his stuff.
Oh yeah,
Hey, speaking of
definitely.
Jay, there's Jay right there. What's up, Jay?
Oh, all right. There's Jay. What's going on, Jay? I just shared your podcast in their Rideshare Dojo, so everyone can go ahead and check that out. And then, of course, obviously, Jay is contributing videos all the time on the Rideshare Guy YouTube channel. I think he has a video coming out tomorrow, actually, that's sort of a step-by-step, or we actually answered all of those unemployment insurance questions that we've been getting. So stay tuned for that. And I wanted to ask Dustin, about Instacart. What do you think? What have you been hearing from your viewers about Instacart? What do you think about it as an option right now?
From everyone I've heard from says they do like it. The only downfall is that with everybody jumping to it, that either some of people are being put on the boarding list, where they have to till they had too many sign up.
Mm-hmm.
And when they go to try to find items and everything, it's being used so much. A lot of items they have to take off. So then that way, what they thought was a really good order doesn't end up being as high as they would think, because as they take orders off, their tip also goes down, which makes the total price go down.
Yeah.
But if you're still needing to go out there and do something, I would still suggest that you try to do it, just because.
Yeah.
It's better than doing nothing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, I guess from a safety perspective, if you're worried about catching coronavirus or spreading it right now, I think rideshare is most dangerous. Grocery delivery is sort of second dangerous. And then food delivery, I think, is actually the least risky of the three, where you're kind of like a Postmates or
I would
DoorDash.
agree with that, because now the food, they just make it so you either pull up to a window. All you do is touch the bags. They have gloves on and everything, and that's it. That's the closest contact with you, besides you giving them your card and getting the food. That's it. So food delivery is not too bad. And I know people, almost everybody is leave it at the door. The only bad thing is when they make you try to go into apartment complexes or something like that, because they say they're sick. I've had people show me screenshots where the receiver of the food said that they were sick and everything, to leave it at the door. And it's like, well, I don't even want to touch your building knob. I don't want to go in your building. You better come down here and get it yourself. But that's my opinion. I don't want people do what you got to do. Don't say, look at this, Dustin. You said do it.
So Sean says Instacart is rough right now. They're only letting 20 people in at a time. I'm assuming he's referring to the actual grocery store.
Oh,
which
that's right. The stores, they'll let you in.
I think they're very, the Vons, the grocery store by my house, the Vons, there's no waiting. They're not really limiting people, but the Trader Joe's near my house, they are. So I think it definitely, kind of varies depending on the area and also the store. But I will say, out of all the services right now, if we ignore the safety risk, Instacart, I think, is where drivers are making the most amount of money. And that's because of, some customers are tipping, much better. There's obviously a lot more demand, so you can sort of earn more that way. And then, of course, if you're very strategic about the orders you're taking and the stores and the times you're working, for example, even just shop, if you're doing Instacart, for example, right now, there are issues when there's not items available, and that sort of hurts your earnings and everything that you touched on, Dustin. So if you're an Instacart shopper, one strategy, for example, is to only work in the mornings, when the stores are more in stock. And then once they start going out of stock, you kind of want to stop.
System.
Yeah. So it's sort of all right, take advantage of it that way.
Look, there you go. It's just like rideshare. You want to know your spots. Well, just like the grocery store, you got to know exactly what's in what location. So the quickest route, which you got to grab 3 things off, 4 different aisles. You got to make sure you know exactly which aisles to go up and down, that you can just go in and out and be the fastest. It's all about efficiency. Yeah,
our Smart says if the stores do the shopping and then we just pick up and deliver, it's the best. I think most Instacart orders aren't really like that anymore, though. I think most of the time you have
to. Most of them are full service. If you get one that's just pick up and go, you better take it.
Yeah, and Dave, the Uber slave, says in LA, they said don't go to the market for the next 2 weeks if you can avoid it. I personally, I think the grocery store is a little dicey, but I
think the grocery store is actually worse than the car. I honestly do.
Really?
Because the odds of that, I think the odds are less that one person at a time or whatever getting into your car the
Yeah.
odds of them having it is less than when you go into the store when you're having 50 to 1,000 people going into it
Yeah.
nonstop repeatedly. And you can hear people, you can hear them people coughing and see them coughing. And you're like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's fair. And
I see you. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, you ain't getting me. Not today.
yeah, we've got Rideshare Genius chiming in. Welcome, Ezra. He says that grocery delivery is dangerous too. You have to go into a store with strangers who haven't been temperature checked. So that's a good point. And you can actually like read stories about what's going on in China, and they're sort of a lot of their grocery stores, and even like their food delivery. They're like kind of 1 or 2 months ahead of us in that. Like if you order food delivery in China right now, everyone who touches your food is actually temperature checked, and on the receipt, not every service, but I think some of the top services, on the receipt you sort of see like an accounting of like, okay, the person who made your food, temperature is okay, the person who delivered your food, temperature, you know what I mean? So that's pretty I think kind of cool in a way. So I suspect we'll start seeing stuff like that. I could imagine like in order to go into a restaurant or to sort of like do grocery shopping, you might have to be temperature checked or sort of basically show that you're not sick.
Man, instead of when you walk through, you know how you usually have the AC at the store and then it has the height thing right there? All of a sudden the height thing's going to turn into a temperature gauge. You're going to walk through, it's going to go
Yeah.
ping, 73, ping, you know what I mean? Like 98.
Yeah.
You hit
And then this
104
is
and an alarm will go off. Beep, beep,
Yeah,
beep, beep,
this is a
beep.
good comment too from Shota here. Shota says pick up and go is favor ordering. So I think he or she is talking about favor, the service, the delivery service. So there's a number, like I think right now in general, like all these smaller delivery services, like in every city, there's usually like a handful of small delivery services. Like I even talked to a couple of people who are going on to Craigslist, and people are posting because like right now, like as a customer, you can't really place orders on Instacart or any of these services without like you normally can with 1 to 2 hour delivery. It's like days sometimes, and all the items are empty. So I've seen some people like going to posting delivery jobs on Craigslist, and I know some
Oh,
drivers have
yeah.
been.
Instead of the gypsy cabs, now it's
Yeah,
gypsy
now it's gypsy
deliveries.
delivery, right? And obviously, I don't know. I won't go into like the legality. I'm sure it's illegal to do it. To be
Oh,
honest,
yeah.
I'm
There's
sure
got
it's
to be some.
illegal, but
It's got to be something. But I would,
right.
yeah, I don't want to go into that either. It's
Right.
like,
But I
do
mean
it or don't.
honestly, right,
It's your
exactly. Like
choice.
honestly at the end of the day, I'm more about like, hey, here are the opportunities, kind of
Yeah,
understand
I'll
the
give you the
risks.
options, and you make up your own mind what you do.
Yeah. And it does look like we got our first super chat from Go Donnie. Where'd that super chat go? He came up with the
GoDaddy.com.
199 Plan B book pinger digital hitchhiker. I don't really know what that means, Donnie, but I appreciate the super chat.
Digital history. That's funny.
And let's see.
Yeah, Exodus, I saw that. 73, you're dead. That's funny.
Yeah,
When I was saying the temperatures, I didn't think about it being that low, but you know what I'm saying.
yeah. So Adam has a good question here. Adam says, he asked over on Twitter, he says, is it better to work and earn what you can or not work and file for the $600 a week unemployment? So I think, Dustin, do you know the answer to that, or you want me to take a stab?
Go ahead. You go ahead first.
So, Adam, in general, right, if you're getting unemployment, it's because you're not working, right? So if you're still working and making money, that technically, like, usually reduces your income. So I think that if in a case where, and this is normally like with a W-2 job, right? If let's say your unemployment is going to be 400, the max in your state is 450 a week, and you go out and, you're making $250 a week, then you'd only get that difference. So there is like a little bit of a incentive to not work in a way so that you don't make that money. But I think where it's interesting with the gig stuff is like if you're going out and driving for Uber and Lyft and let's say you're making 500 a week and your state is going to pay you 500 a week plus that 600 a week in extra unemployment, and you decide to go work for a delivery service, like I don't know what's actually going to happen then. You might still get both because I don't know how they're going to know the difference, if that makes sense. You know what I mean, Dustin?
Yeah, I
Like, I
totally
don't know
agree. I
how
don't
they're
know
going to
if they'll
know.
catch on to you, but in the end, when you have to claim that income, they'll know when you did it then, and it could come back to bite you. So
Yeah, I guess yeah, that's a good way to put it. It could come back to bite you, I guess, right? And so if you're sort of like trying to double dip and get unemployment and go work for someone else, like I think you probably shouldn't be like shocked or surprised if you end up not getting the unemployment, for example,
Well,
right? Like if you have to pay that back in the end.
If you still work and collect, you have to tell them every week, or you will get in trouble. Because I collected unemployment back in '08 when the housing crashed and everything.
Yeah.
Before I realized, and I was way younger then, and then I realized, you have to have backup plans and stuff. So since '08 is when I learned my lesson, and we'll never have to worry about that again. That's why I can be sitting pretty now. But yes,
so I think like actually a good
unemployment, and then I was still trying to do other things. Every week I had to go back to the website and tell them exactly what was happening. I had to go downtown to get there to collect everything. But you have to let them know. You have to still be looking for work at that time.
Yeah. Well, and I guess what I would say is like a good way to like what I would do in that situation. Like I'm like you, I'm never a big fan of like trying to game the system, but I'm looking more like I'm never going to like outright lie. You know what I mean? But I'm looking for ways that are more like in the gray area, or not even gray area, but just like things that are smart. So like in this case, for example, if you're going to go
a loophole, you know what I mean?
Right. I mean, if you're going to, I mean, I would say it's more than a loophole, but what I would do in this situation, kind of what I would recommend, Adam, is that, if you want to take that unemployment, like instead of working in your spare time, like do something that's going to build your skills for the future, right? So if like maybe that's schooling, maybe that's some type of learning, maybe that's like building a website, right? Because then if you're like building a business, for example, on the side, you probably will be making $0, right? Like if you're going to go out and start a YouTube channel on the side, for example, you're not going to make any money off of that at the start, but by the time your unemployment runs out, maybe you have a big following, or maybe, you've made some traction, and now you can sort of start trying to monetize that if you're doing a website or, a YouTube channel, or, really anything, right? Like we talk about plan B all the time, right? Maybe you go back to get your real estate license, for example, and while you're working on your real estate license, you're collecting this unemployment so that when that runs out, you have like a head start to go jump right into this next career. That's kind of how I would approach it.
And always remember, guys, cash is king.
Cash is king. Yeah, that's the other thing to do is like, for example, like these Craigslist jobs and stuff like that. That's like,
that's all cash. That's all
right.
Guys,
that's why these people like some of this stuff. So looks like we've got Rideshare Lisa joining. She said, "Hey, Harry and Dustin." So
hey, Lisa.
What's up, Lisa? Nice to see you. And let's see. Rob says, unless you have to work, please stay at home. Don't be a part of the problem. And I guess just as I don't know, I'll be honest, I'm not watching the news like 24/7, but it does seem like in the States that where people have kind of been staying home, it seems like it's sort of working. So I think maybe keep listening to the experts there, and probably not two random guys on YouTube would be my advice.
Yeah, we do not give any legal advice, money advice, or what you should do.
Or medical
advice.
You are
grown adults. You make
probably shouldn't be taking medical advice from two rideshare YouTubers, maybe two doctors, but on YouTube. But I think maybe not. I like this. I like this suggestion right here from Go Donnie. Go Donnie, you had a lot of good comments today. So Go Donnie says, volunteer some of your time if you're unemployed. Help the elderly. Help people. Volunteer some of your free time. I really like that suggestion. Because right now there are a lot of people who can't necessarily fend for themselves, can't go grocery shopping, can't do certain things. So I would say that there's a few different levels. If you're in a good financial position, maybe you donate money. If you just have a lot of time right now, maybe you go and donate your time. If you're worried about going out and getting sick, it could even be something as simple. Like I know I've tried to check in with a lot of people. Like I set little reminders to like check in with my grandpa who's older and not feeling so well, and like just check in with friends and like family, like anyone who is living by themselves or anyone who's older. Like I've tried to just check in, and so that would be like one way that you could sort of like, I don't know, give back, I guess I would say. I don't know. What do you think about that, Dustin?
Yeah, that's actually a really great idea right there. And I would strongly agree with that as well, especially for those like, everyone wants to stay safe and everything, but there are those that do need help. And that's why, they claim a bunch of people are essential, because some people are. Obviously, everyone can't stay home because the world doesn't just run on electronics, guys. So there are people that have to be out there physically. Otherwise, we don't have power. We don't have water. You know what I'm saying? There are people that have to go out there. So yes, that is definitely a great idea. Volunteer, like you said, some time, some money, whatever you think you can do to help the situation. Because I'd rather suffer for only a couple more weeks than a couple more months, because this is just it's going crazy.
Yeah. And I see a question coming in from, or a comment from LinkedIn. Bill McNeely over on LinkedIn. I think he says, I think he's working at this company called GoPuff in the like back end, and he says that they're still hiring drivers in many markets. And this is actually a service that we reviewed recently, and this is kind of like a good example of one of those smaller services that. I'll leave a link to our review that we did right here, but it's like one of those examples of like a smaller delivery service that isn't, as well known. Like Dustin, have you ever heard of GoPuff?
GoPuff? No, I haven't, but it sounds like I should.
Yeah, so I mean, it basically the app allows you to order stuff that you might get at a convenience store, and I think you pay $6 per month for a membership and $2 per delivery. So it's actually like kind of like very relevant in a time like right now when everyone wants to stock up on like cleaning and yeah, all that. Yeah, all that type of stuff. And so Bill, I think, actually works for the company, and he said that they're still hiring in many markets. So I just left a link to our review of GoPuff, so you guys can check that out. And that's just like an example, though. GoPuff, they're probably, I think, in maybe like 10 or 15 cities, but there's like a number of companies, like GoPuff, that are doing similar stuff. So, just kind of keep an eye out for those opportunities. Talk to other drivers in your area, see what they're up to. And I also put this comment on the screen. I might have taken it back off, but I think it said, from M. Silverhammer says, concealing and not reporting earnings while drawing unemployment is fraud and a crime in all states. Sounds about right to me.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that.
So, yeah, I think that should answer. I see a couple other people asking about this. So I guess you could, like Alan wants to know if you could file for unemployment benefits and still driving for Uber. Yes, it just might reduce some of your potential unemployment benefits. So that's what I would say there. Go Donnie. Man, I'm featuring a lot of Donnie's comments, but I think
here we go. Chris from Real Rideshare Stories. He's got a good one.
All right, let me get to that next. He says, go start your own delivery service if you can in a small market. Find restaurants that are not using the delivery services due to a 5-mile radius from the restaurant and, kind of do it that way. I would even say, I think if you're really like one thing I've seen that, in any time where it's sort of like an economic downturn or, something negative is happening, like, obviously with coronavirus right now, it still doesn't mean there are no opportunities, right? Like certain industries, certain opportunities pop up, right? And so I think for you have to like talk to a lot of people, see what issues they're having, see what struggles they're having, and then, how you can solve them, for example, right? Like right now, there's a lot of people making masks, right? And, now if you go out and make masks, I think there's a lot of people doing it, but I got a text from my cleaning lady who comes to my house once a month about almost a month ago, and she asked me, hey, do you want to buy any masks? She was like, our business is down. Do you want to buy any homemade masks that we've been making and sewing together? And they look pretty cool. And I was like, yeah, I'll buy a few, right? So that's just I like finding those types of stories, those types of opportunities.
And there's a lot of them out there, especially right now.
Yeah. So let's see. Real Rideshare Stories. You want me to add this comment, Dustin? He wanted to know, what's your thought on this? Uber and Lyft are essential workers, yet they are well within 6 feet space in a vehicle. Do you think this is the right call for drivers? So that is a very good point. Dustin, do you want to give that one a crack?
Yeah, I totally agree, because they say the social distancing is supposed to be at least 6 feet, but it's obviously in an enclosed space like that. But from here to the passenger, whether
you break it pretty quickly,
behind, unless you're all the way in the very back, and I'm not even sure I think that's 4 feet, 5 feet. But I mean, there's no way in any car you're going to be 6 feet away from your passenger in an enclosed space. You know what I'm saying? If they don't have a mask or anything and they're coughing, I mean, odds are that's how you can get sick. So, but it does, I know what he's saying for the simple fact that we are, they're supposed to be essential, but that's where I think hazard pay and something like that should come into effect.
Yeah. Well, so I think what I would say, and yeah, we can talk about hazard pay too. That's a good point. I like this question because, obviously right now, kind of driving rideshare, there's, like you said, right, the number one CDC recommendation, like you said, Dustin, is to say 6 feet away from people. And as soon as someone gets into your car, they break that rule. So probably not a good thing. But at the same time, I will say, one of the kind of positives I've been hearing from a lot of drivers is that the rides they are doing these days right now are very essential. It's like for a lot of essential workers who, like here in LA, and I saw in San Francisco, for example, they cut 70 bus lines the other day because some drivers were coming down with COVID-19. And so now, people that are maybe, like, for example, like service staff or frontline workers at hospitals, grocery, people that work at grocery stores or food places, right? If you sort of start limiting their transportation options and they don't have a car, and then if they can't take Uber and Lyft, then like now there aren't enough people to work at
Yes.
hospitals or there aren't enough people to work at grocery stores. So I think that's where it starts to get a little dicey. And, I guess, like, I was thinking about this the other day, like, what's safer, buses or Uber and Lyft cars? I don't know. What would you, if you had to get into one right now, would you rather get into a bus, like a city bus, or a Uber or Lyft car as a passenger?
If I had to pick one personally, I would get into an Uber. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, who are you going to call? I'd be calling an Uber. I would not be getting on the bus because the bus is, to
A
me,
lot more
is
people coming
going to
in
be
and
a
out of
lot
the
more people
bus.
touching everything. Yeah. You know what? In the
Yeah.
car, I can control how much I touch. Could wear gloves, just bam, sit in, have my mask, sit there, roll the window down, whatever. In a bus, you have way less control of everything and who's been in there. The odds, and right now, the odds of a driver having like more than 20 rides a day is like
Yeah.
probably pretty minute. So the odds are whoever picked you up probably only picked up one or two other people that day.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's the thing. I guess you just sort of have to hope that they did a good job. The Uber or Lyft driver did a good job cleaning their car. I'd ask the
Exactly.
audience, I'll put this question out to everyone watching live right now. If you, sort of had to take a ride, and what would you rather get into, the back of an Uber or Lyft car or the back, or, a bus? And I think I would probably agree with you, Dustin. I think that, if I had to pick one, Uber or Lyft is, slightly safer right now just because there's less people coming in and out. Like, one of the first things that I stopped doing with my son was taking him to playgrounds, because I was thinking to myself, I was like, wow, if there are a lot of germs being spread, like the playground where like a million kids are like touching the bars and licking this and eating that seems like a
Exactly.
pretty good
They were
spot
already
to
a problem before this started.
right.
You know what I'm saying? So now you can't be doing that.
Yeah. So I think that's I'd be curious to know what other people think, though. So we'll see what the comments say. If you would rather get into a bus or a Uber Lyft
Let's say
car.
Uber 111, bus 222. Let us know.
Yeah, and I should mention, I think I forgot to mention this too. We'll go for maybe like another 10 minutes or so and get everyone's questions answered. Definitely appreciate you coming on, Dustin. If people haven't checked out your channel yet, go ahead and do that. They can subscribe later on. And if you guys haven't given this video a thumbs up yet on whatever platform you're watching, go ahead and do that now. And you can you can close out the live chat if you're watching on your phone on YouTube, and give the video a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe and turn those notifications on too, because I've been doing weekly lives, actually. We've been doing weekly lives and, just sort of trying to be there for drivers and answer all the questions. And tonight, I actually have a cool little giveaway that I'm going to be doing. So I actually have something good to give away tonight. Usually it's like swag, but tonight I've got a cool giveaway. It's a Blue Sky C B2W dual lens dash camera, which I think it's going for like $130 on Amazon right now. We reviewed it.
That's funny. Yep, that's the dash cam I use.
Oh,
right
there
here,
we
guys.
go. All right, well,
Blue
let's get a
Sky
quick
C.
review. What do you think? Am I giving away a good dash cam, or is this thing a
Oh,
piece of
yes,
crap?
definitely. I totally like it. It is great. You can swivel it. If
Yeah.
you ever got pulled over or something, you can just turn the dash cam. You see everything going at your window. You won't miss a thing.
Yeah.
It's great. Very great night vision. I like
Nice.
it. And easy to use. So easy
Yeah,
to
no, this
use.
was definitely, I think for the price, I think it's one of the best cameras out there. And so I realized I had an extra one over here at my house from the last giveaway we did. And that's why I figured it'd be a good little giveaway tonight. And, last time, actually, kind of a cool little quick story, Dustin. Last time I gave away, I think it was a few weeks ago, I did a giveaway at the end of my live, and I gave away 4 $25 Amazon gift cards, and 2 of the 4 people that won actually wanted me to donate them in their name, and so I did that, and I donated
that
to
is
like a
cool.
local. I think it's like that guy Jose Andres. He does like meals for charity here in LA, and so I donated to his charity. So that was kind of cool. It was kind of like paying it forward. So. Let's see. Donnie says, go ahead and send it to me. A lot of people. Oh, wow. So it looks like when I actually give away good gifts, people actually like the like the gifts and actually want to enter. So let's see what people say. It seems like a lot of people actually, we asked that question: if you had to take a ride right now, would you rather hop in a bus or Uber and Lyft? And pretty much everyone is saying Uber and Lyft, rideshare. Bill on LinkedIn says rideshare. Jesse says I'd rather walk a few miles. That wasn't that wasn't an option.
That was other.
All right, so we got our first hater. Dan says, Harry, sorry to say thumbs down because this whole video with some guy running your logo on his hat was useless. I will not watch future videos because you gave nothing to us drivers.
Useless.
Ouch.
It's Tuesday when we get called useless. I appreciate that, Dan. I don't know why we're useless. We're answering y'all's questions, so I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm not too worried.
What? I think I saw his comment. He said he got mad because we were telling people to drive.
I guess he must not have been watching the video very closely because I think I specifically said a few times, I don't tell people what to do. I understand that my personal situation and everyone's in a different situation, but we're coming up on the hour mark, so maybe people are getting a little cranky or not quite paying attention.
You know what? I got refused from New Jersey, the UI. Can't find any guide to the 600 nothing, so screw till I get my 401k, go back to driving a truck. Hey, Dan, I'm in Jersey, bro. We kept telling you, check the website. It's not ready yet. Of course you got denied. It's not there yet. You got to calm down, take a breath, take it one day at a time, and keep refreshing until you find out. Getting mad at us for things that you're jumping to the gun, it's not our fault. It's okay, man. Don't reflect. It's okay.
And I think the viewers are with us on this one. Kim says, wow, really? Hat is sweet. John gave Dan a 1 star. So I actually, what's funny? Whenever someone leaves kind of outrageous or, as long as they're not attacking me, you're a effing piece of, shit.
What I don't think too is he must have joined in late because we already went over this in the beginning.
No, I think he was there at the beginning. I remember featuring a couple of his questions. But I
don't get why he's being mad. We said it's not ready yet.
I actually like...
listen. If you're going to comment and hate, at least listen before you hate so you know what you're hating on.
I will say, I actually like leaving those comments up on my videos because I often see that, my viewers will always come to my defense whenever there's someone, kind of acting a little crazy or talking a little...
You know the rule, right, Harry? We all know the rule, man. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. So when you make those comments, you know what's going to happen to you.
There you go. And that is from
the man
himself.
We apologize. Just at his breaking point. We
all right. I feel you, Dan. We feel you, man.
Telling everybody that you just have to keep checking it out. Nobody has gotten the extra 600 yet. Yes, people have gotten approved for unemployment, but I don't know anybody that was independent contractor that's received their money yet. But I know everyone that got a W-2 and you went, obviously you will be getting unemployment because that is what you pay into. So... yes, if you have a W-2, you'll automatically will be getting your refunds.
Yeah, and let me ask you this. I think this is a good question because I saw a couple articles about this, is that, the fact that, right, Uber and Lyft, these companies have billions of dollars, and, before this bill was passed, the CEO of Uber, sent a letter to President Trump, right, asking for gig workers to be included in this bailout and to get unemployment, which I think everyone agrees, it's great that drivers are included in this unemployment. But I want to ask you, Dustin, the real question is, who do you think is responsible to pay for this? To me, it's shouldn't it be Uber and Lyft? Or do you think the government, and really by the government, that's us taxpayers, are responsible for paying it? I'll ask the audience that and see what they say. Who's sort of responsible for paying for all of this unemployment for drivers? And then I'll ask you that question, and we'll try to steer clear of politics when we go over this topic.
That is such a tough question right there, because while we are classified as independent contractors, a lot of people are trying to fight to be to be employees. California technically is supposed to already be employees, so I think in California, I think Uber's going to have to pay. For all of the rest of us, I have no clue how this is all happening. In the end, all I do know 100% is all taxpayers in the end, in general, are going to pay for this. We are all paying for this one way or another.
Well, and I think that's because, obviously this is a big bailout by the government. And so I think we can all kind of agree, definitely workers right now need help. And so someone's got to give it. And so Jesse says Uber and Lyft should step up and pay some of it. Don says Uber should pay. Roy says Uber and Lyft to pay. Frank, I like this comment. Frank says it will be paid by our grandchildren, which is kind of true, right? If we're going into debt to pay for a lot of this stuff, we're sort of screwing over future generations. Michael says no one, we're screwed. So I think it's a combination I'm seeing right now in the comments. Maybe more Uber and Lyft should pay, some government and then some, sort of mix of the two.
I don't think Uber has the money they say they have. I honestly don't.
I mean, I guess Uber did their CEO when their stock price was tanking, he did a conference call and said that they've got like $8 billion in cash. So they do have a lot of money in cash. And so that's why I just thought it was interesting. Here you have airlines, for example, they have like $100 million planes rolling around, right? And so in any time like this where they can't operate their planes, they're probably losing a ton of money. But Uber and Lyft during a time like this, right, when, there's...
It's like, how are they losing money? They're not putting in any projections out there. Remember, the
drivers.
That's what I understand. We're essential now, but before, remember that article too that came out that said that we are not essential to their business.
Yeah.
Because they don't have they're not paying any overhead on us. So it's like they're not losing any money if trips aren't being taken, really.
Yeah.
Because
I think they actually might be making more money.
Yeah, they're making money.
They lose money on every ride. Yeah. So I think that what I would say is I think that a combination of the two would be best, right? Like imagine a situation where, like, let's say the government was going to kick in like 500 million and Uber and Lyft had to match that, for example. I think that like an equal contribution. It's sort of tough because in times like this, like you kind of want
to. We can all agree that Uber and Lyft could do more for their drivers on their own if they really valued. They always say they value your partnership and everything else. So if they really did, they could show more on themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like Dara, even though they are now a publicly traded company, they could still, all the shareholders and stuff could have a say in what goes down for something to happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And
like,
Thomas,
they could do more.
Yeah, Thomas over on LinkedIn says, you talk a lot about California. What about the East Coast? I mean, aren't you from the East Coast, Dustin? Haven't we been talking a lot about the East Coast?
Yeah, I'm on the Jersey Shore. I'm as East Coast as you get.
I guess maybe...
But what about the East Coast? I mean, we are independent contractors. Nothing over here on the East side. There's no AB5 for the East side, or, ZB5, because we'd be on the other side of the alphabet.
This is interesting, Dustin. Joe, we've got Joe from the Facebook page, and he's driving he's in Canada, and he says it should be a combination of government and Uber together. Harry, here in Canada, the government is paying $2,000 guaranteed to drivers. So I'm assuming that's per month. So that's interesting. It seems like actually a lot of other countries are doing very similar programs and sending payments directly to, their citizens, but also like the Uber and Lyft drivers too. So that's interesting too, how people are going, how basically other countries are treating this too.
Yeah, it seems like other countries are actually doing better than what we are doing here.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but that's what
I think that's pretty true. So AA says, when this is over, will Uber and Lyft take care of drivers more or less? What do you think, Dustin?
I'm going to have to say less.
Less.
Because whatever they're having to pay out, because they're having to pay out all this sick money, right? For everyone that does get sick, and you get the paid time off, the paid sick pay, they're going to have to make that up from somewhere. And a lot of people are worried about either a rate cuts coming or something like that. I think maybe there won't be sign-on bonus for a while or something. But somehow, I hate to say it, but from their track record, drivers will end up suffering from this one way or another in the end. I hate to say it.
Yeah,
but,
and I think this is
because you can't really have much room to drop the rate anymore.
Yeah, I think this is a good question. Maybe I think this might be a good question to end on, and then we'll do the giveaway for everyone who's still here. And we're still got almost 200 people watching live, so appreciate everyone hanging with us till the end. Michael wants to know, or says, helping out people without transportation in this crisis is making history. They should pay us hazard pay too. And the reason why I wanted to highlight this comment, because this is something that I've seen now asked for on, Instacart workers went on strike last Monday because they wanted, one of the things they wanted was hazard pay. I saw that Shipt workers, I think, are going on strike today because they wanted hazard pay and a few other things. So
Amazon people wanted hazard pay. And
I guess to me, this seems like a pretty simple request that makes a lot of sense. Like, I think that right now, a lot of people, if they're not going to go get their groceries delivered, like, they should probably pay someone a little bit more than normal to do it. I haven't seen many companies.
Most grocery orders are like the order itself is 25, they're tipping 25 as well.
Right.
You know
Exactly.
what I mean? They're making
I've
it
seen
worth your
big
while.
tips, and like I personally have been doing a lot of food delivery orders, like restaurant orders, and tipping, at least 5, 10, 15% more than I normally tip, because it's like, hey, I'm like scared or too lazy to go out and get food for myself. If I'm going to pay someone else to do it, I want to make sure that I'm compensating them extra for taking that additional risk. But I'm really surprised I haven't seen any companies come out and like even, say like we're going to do $1 extra or $2 extra or $5 extra. Like none of the companies I think are doing any of that. It seems like, it would be kind of an easy
really,
win for them.
Instead of giving extra, why don't they just do it simple, take less, and everything would be okay? You get what I'm saying? If they can't figure it in their systems to give people more, then if they could just take a little less, they'll still be doing fine. What are they doing?
Yeah.
They're just another app. Like they act like they're really got all these parts and components and everything going on, when all they really have to do is just go back in the program and be like, okay, take 10% instead of 15.
Yeah. So
why is that a big deal?
Let's answer a couple quick questions, and then we'll do the giveaway and go ahead and sign off so everyone can get on with their night. If you guys haven't given this video a thumbs up yet, go ahead and do so right now and subscribe to the channel.
Armando, Armando said, I think Dustin should pay for our unemployment.
I don't know if ad revenue is down. Ad revenue is down
but not
quite
for
a bit.
Everybody else.
Ad revenue is down quite a bit, guys. Jessie over on LinkedIn. Hey, Jessie. She says that'd be an easy win, referring to that hazard pay for, kind of all of these food delivery orders and everything there. Gary wants to know, when are they going to give out the guidelines? I think he's referring to Uber and Lyft. Uber and Lyft are supposedly working on guidelines for unemployment insurance, but I think it's, I don't know if there's a lot to update on. So we've already talked about unemployment a lot, and I'm not going to go into that. Rob says DoorDash is offering bonuses every day. Although I don't know if the bonuses are, as high as I thought they would be. And let's see. I think one other question I wanted to get to. I think JRP was getting mad at me because we weren't answering his question. Do you know what he was asking, Dustin? Should I email again to have my question answered? I don't know, JR. We don't see the question, but you might be a good last question. Hopefully you have a good question,
right.
JR.
I'm looking forward to.
We're gonna find it. We're gonna answer it, and we don't want to have another Dan situation on our hands.
Oh, man.
I don't know. I've scrolled all the way back, JR.
Here, just
can't find it.
Send it again. Send the question.
Send it again quickly, but I'm going to go ahead and do the giveaway now. Dustin, you are not eligible to win this camera, so do not email me. Man. But if you guys want to win this Blue Sky C dash cam, it's brand new. I did open it just to take a picture of it, but it has not been used. I'll go ahead and mail it to you this week. All you need to do is email me, harry@therideshareguy.com, and let me know one thing that you're doing to improve yourself, to help others during this time of coronavirus, and watching Netflix, watching Tiger King, I don't think counts. I think it's got to be something. Maybe it's like, it can be as simple. It can be as simple as, I texted a relative or I texted a friend just to check in on them. It could be, I'm trying to donate money, donate meals, or it could be I'm working on my plan B. I want to know, like obviously, I don't expect everyone to be like productive every second of the day during this quarantine, but I do think like it is a good time in general to like look at a few things, like instead of watching Netflix for 12 hours a day, maybe take 11 hours and then go take that extra hour and try to do something productive.
I found his question.
All right. And I think he
reposted it
many times. All right. JR says, I got a paper. Let me put up on the screen. He says, I got a paper from unemployment office. I drive Lyft. Says notice of unemployment insurance award. Max benefit is $0. Total wages $0. Weekly benefit $0. So basically zero money. I think I know the answer to this. Do you know the answer to this, Dustin?
I'm pretty sure I do too. I think the answer is that's not ready yet. I think that's the answer.
So unfortunately, you're not going to be getting paid. And that's kind of why I said that's the bad news, that there's no money yet for when it comes to unemployment. But the good news is that no one else is getting paid either. So you're not missing out on anything because of that. So, okay, if you guys want to enter to win the Blue Sky C B2W dashcam, email me, harry@therideshareguy.com, subject line YouTube Live, and then just let me know one thing that you guys are doing to improve yourself, help others, whatever it might be. One thing, could be small, could be big. And without further further ado, I will be
And you have
back.
to smash the thumbs up button. You have to
Yeah,
smash the
definitely
thumbs up button. Do it now,
smash
guys.
that
Come on.
like button. Do it now
Email. Smash the
before we
thumbs up
sign
and
off.
email them.
And
It's worth
also,
it. Free dash ham.
did you give this video a thumbs up, Dustin?
Of course I did.
All right, all right, all right. I gave it a thumbs up too. I liked my own video. So I'll also say you guys can go ahead and check out Dustin. Dustin, thank you very much for joining. I really appreciate you taking an hour out of your busy day away from the kids. It's getting dark over where you are, but
Yeah, it is
appreciate
dark
you.
now. We actually watched the sunset together, man.
All right, beautiful. Well, I appreciate it. And guys, I will be back live again next week. I'm doing basically weekly lives right now until this whole situation is over so we can answer whatever questions you might have. And until next time, subscribe and stay safe out there.
Peace out, everybody.